Amanda, I met Amanda, it would probably be, what, 18 months ago, 2 years ago now, would it be?
It was August, not last year, the year before.
August 2014 then?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. You came along with your partner, and you came along to relationship success firstly, and then you came along to phase 1 and phase 2 March last year, was it? March last year? I'll hand the microphone over to you.
Yeah, so we first met Shane and Jess at Relationship Success, which was in itself an amazing experience. And I think probably everyone in this room has realised to some extent that meeting these two is not something you can undo.
Pretty much.
So we got the Fozard bug, really. And we went on to ASM, and probably about 6 months before Relationship Success, I was finally diagnosed with ADHD, which, as a female who wasn't diagnosed as a child, was a whole process. Anyway, that didn't come up at Relationship Success. For me, going to ASM was a large part was to process that label and what that meant. There is a lot of negative association with that label. I never went to ASM, like Shana said, you've got a choice to be a cause. I don't necessarily think that it is my fault. It's not even necessarily to some extent my responsibility. My responsibility with that label was to decide how I use it. So for me, ASM 1 was about finding out there's a whole lot more weeds in my garden than I ever gave credit to. But then also picking which ones I wanted to get rid of. And being able to get to a point where, and Jess was instrumental in this, not surprisingly, that I could choose what ADHD meant to me. It didn't have to be all of the negatives that everyone else told me it was. I got to choose what that meant and how I let that affect me. Since leaving ASM 2, I have not been medicated. And to those who spend a lot of time with me, they know that even now, they can tell some days when I'm not having a great day, but I have strategies and tools in place that I can very quickly go, you know what guys, okay, yes I'm having a bad day, but it's not a bad week anymore, it's not a bad month, it's not a bad year. Whereas spending years trying to work out what was wrong with me, why I was having these negative interactions with everyone around me, why I couldn't retain friendships because I was constantly interrupting people or speaking my mind too frequently and insulting them in the process, meant that I've spent hours and thousands of dollars on psychologists and I couldn't work out why this person that's meant to be helping me, I go and I sit an hour and I talk about my problems, and like Shane says, a psychologist watches the time. At 50 minutes, you're out that door whether you're in tears or whether you're happy as Larry. It just didn't make sense. I didn't understand how I could not be feeling any better. Nothing changed. Even though I was putting in all of this effort and all of this work, it was such a conscious thing of trying to override what was happening with the crew, so to speak. Whereas within a few days of ASM, it was like all of a sudden it made sense. You know, you see what those weeds are, you get to go to your garden and find, okay, so that one is really big, really dangerous, let's deal with that now. These other ones, I can deal with those, they're just little blips on the radar, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, ASM and, like I said, even just meeting these guys in general, opens a gate that you can't close. And it's like meeting a family that you didn't know you had, because at the end of the day, even if I start feeling so unresourceful that I can't find my solution by myself, I have these two. I have people like Sinead, my amazing husband who was there with me, and thank goodness he was, because there were, you know, like Sinead said, there was days where I was just like, I'm not doing this, I fell apart. Jess did the same thing. Came and spent I don't know how many hours with me going, you're amazing, you can do this, you know. Yeah, you fucking got this. And it is, and the way that they structure it, you think, even by the end of the first day, they have you realising you can do stuff you never thought you could do. And then when you think they've taken you to like this amazing level, they somehow manage to do it again and take you even further. And so I'm going back in October because I want more.
Woo!